What are the most brutal jobs that you can take on as a new lawyer, especially as an NQ lawyer, and what should you be looking to avoid? Let's have a look at it. Well, to start with, litigation in a fee earner factory. So you can identify these pretty quickly, but there are certain litigation departments that run this, run large litigation, and they run it on a purely commercial basis. Nothing wrong with that, of course, but not always proportionately. And they run it like a factory, basically. I mean, you are selling time for money as a lawyer in general terms. I've spoken on this channel about how to kind of avoid that model. But yeah, they're looking to rack up as many hours as possible, and they just have junior lawyers on disclosure work, low level work, just reviewing papers, etc. And it can be pretty dispiriting, I must say. Now, the litigation work that I've been involved in, I've been very fortunate to work on litigation at a sort of senior level, sort of leading litigation teams and dealing with large cases where I'm the decision maker. But really, ideally, if you want to go into litigation, then you want to go straight in either elite level litigation, where you're working closely with the partner, or the main lawyer on the case. You want to really avoid being slotted in at the bottom of the hierarchy in that kind of litigation factory type setup. And I'll say a little bit more about that in just a moment when we're talking about law firms. Now, the next one is like real estate grinder, I've said. So in other words, any of these areas where it's heavily commodified, where the delivery of legal services is heavily commodified, is really to be avoided if at all possible. And I don't think there's any area more commodified than conveyancing. Conveyancing can be pretty awful to do. On the other hand, certain conveyancing can be great. Certain areas of commercial conveyancing and even residential conveyancing, where you have a kind of private client setup, as opposed to, again, this kind of factory idea. And there's some setups now where, of course, you can have non-lawyer owned businesses, so alternative business structures, and there are some pure kind of conveyancing factories where it would be really dispiriting for you to work as a new lawyer, and potentially compromising to your career. Now, the next area is, I've said, low-level crime work. Now, especially police station attendants. Now, this is an area where if you got into it, you could really limit your career prospects quite early on. What you do in the first year of practice as a solicitor will affect you later on, and you want to go in at the highest possible level. So doing police station attendance, there's nothing wrong with that work, but really, if you're going to go into crime, then I go straight into the high ticket white collar work, where you're as high up the hierarchy as possible when you begin. If you go in at that very low point, then it's very, very hard work and quite difficult to get out of. Having said that, if you are looking to build up a career and then starting off in that and having a full picture of what the work involves, maybe an asset to you. But as I say, if you're doing it, then it should be as part of a broader career plan. You wouldn't want to enter into that just like clueless as the first thing that's offered to you, or the first thing that's available. Now, so there's some warning signs, okay, because all of that has to be put in context. Again, there's nothing wrong in principle with any gaining experience of that kind if it's part of your plan. But the warning signs are, look, firms that are heavily indebted. So one of the things you should be checking out before you accept either a training contract, or if you've done the SQE, if you're taking on your first NQ role, is firms that are heavily indebted, and you can find out that information is available online or with pretty minimal investigation. But firms that are carrying a lot of debt, and especially non-lawyer run firms, so a lot of law firms, surprisingly, are not owned by lawyers. They're owned by, finance guys, accountants, and sometimes, not always, but sometimes they will be run pretty brutally on a fee earner basis in terms of number of, how many hours are you doing of fee earning work, of chargeable work per day. And the differences are quite stark. Like the expectations could be anything from 5 hours a day of chargeable work that you have to do, right up to 8, 9, 10 hours a day, depending on the context and situation. And firms that are carrying a lot of debt, or maybe that have recently been acquired, are there is less likely to be a the right balance between providing an excellent service and just brutally racking up as many chargeable hours as possible. So that's the first warning sign. First thing I'd check out before you accept any offers or when you're targeting firms to take on your first NQ role. The next one is negative client feedback. So check it out, and from all sources, Google, the Google reviews, and not just Chambers and Partners, right? There's some of the reviews there are quite sycophantic on, Legal 500 and Chambers and Partners, but check more broadly about, what people are saying about the firm. If you get negative client feedback, sometimes that's indicative of something that's wrong systematically in the firm. How are junior lawyers really being treated? Are they being adequately supported? So do check that out. Another warning sign is firms that are not keen on remote or flexible working, right? Sometimes that can be a sign that they simply don't trust people. They don't trust the fee earners. They don't trust people to work remotely. And if there's no trust, then you have to ask, well, why is that? Is there something wrong culturally at the firm or structurally at the firm? And then the other one you should check out is, maybe this isn't necessarily relevant to you now, and maybe it isn't the first question you ask, but what's the maternity and paternity leave like? Now, the reason I say that is not because maybe you've got first thing on your mind is that you want to necessarily be having kids if you haven't already got kids and be taking leave, but it's, I think, an important signal. If the maternity and paternity leave is the bare statutory minimum, then that's indicative of something about the culture of the firm. I'd suggest in some cases. And so if when they're treating their staff, especially staff maybe you've been with them for some time and they're going on maternity leave, and the bare minimum is offered as required, as mandated by statute, then yeah, that may indicate something about the firm. So it's a factor to be taken into account. None of these things are determinative, but they're potential warning signs, and they may count against the firm, particularly if you have different choices, you've got different options available to you. Yeah, so don't start your career in a brutal, dispiriting role as a lawyer. There are many, when with these kind of setups, you will be metaphorically treading over the bodies of the previous victims, if you like, as you're going into these roles. And really, you want a role that's going to value you as a lawyer, where you have the opportunity to do great work, and you're going to be setting the foundation stones for building the rest of your career. So yeah, wish you the best of luck. If you are doing the SQE course, check out preparation course just below. Very comprehensive, based on visual learning, to help you to fast track to pass the exam. The price is going up next month, so feel free to get it now. And best of luck if you are taking the SQE exam. I wish you the best of luck in your legal career as well. Bye for now.